Thank you all for being here and out there, wherever that is. Um, I'm very happy to be here. I'm happy to get a chance to talk about Into the Mirror. My wife likes to tease me every time someone asks me what your book is about, and I try to explain it to them. And she says afterwards, "You don't know how to explain what this book is about. You've been working on it for 5 years, and why can't you explain it?" So I'm going to make another attempt today, and maybe I'll manage. I don't know. The shortest explanation I could give is that this book is about Mahayana Buddhism and modernity. So maybe I should say a few words about modernity to start with. We're all immersed in modernity, so it's very hard for us to see. We're like fish in water. Fish don't have a lot to say about water, I'm sure, because it's their natural dwelling place, and modernity is our natural dwelling place. But I thought I'd give two very brief examples, highlights of what I think are modernity. The first is a little story about one of the major achievements of humanity. In the last 100 years, we have managed to extend human lifespan double. People now live, on the average, everywhere in the world, about twice as long as they lived 100 years ago. That's pretty extraordinary. The reasons for that are the discovery of antibiotics, the discovery of vaccines, and the pasteurization of milk, or germ theory more generally. These three discoveries, along with tremendous efforts by public health, have doubled the human lifespan. People used to live an average of 40 years, and now the average is around 80 years. So that's amazing. Another little vignette about modernity. A couple of years ago, a UN report on the environment came out that said that currently 1 million species of plants and animals are at risk of becoming extinct in the near future. That's also a pretty incredible achievement. Not such a good one. And that's because of human impact on the environment. So on the one hand, we have this incredible brilliance, intelligence, creativity that has doubled the human lifespan. And on the other hand, we have this incredible stupidity that is causing us to destroy the planet that we live on, the environment that we live in. So how do we make sense of that? As Buddhists, how do we make sense of that? That's a big question. We could be so clever and so stupid. Reflecting on this makes me think of one of the very core teachings of Buddhism that appears again and again, which is known as the two truths or the two realities. In Sanskrit, and I have to be really careful because we have a Sanskritist in our presence who's going to correct me, but the two truths are known as Samvriti Satya and Paramata Satya. Close enough? Okay. So Paramata Satya is often translated as ultimate truth or ultimate reality or genuine reality. Samvriti Satya is more like apparent reality or conventional reality, and it's often translated as relative reality, but it has this other sense of concealment. So it's a truth that reveals and at the same time conceals, which is very interesting. How can truth both reveal and conceal? What Samvriti Satya, or the relative truth, conventional truth, reveals is how appearances work, how one thing seems to produce another thing. One thing leads to another thing. What it conceals is the nature of things, how things actually are, what's called the ultimate truth or genuine reality. So we have this sense of intellect, for example. Intellect reveals and at the same time conceals. So our science and our technology have revealed ways of dealing with phenomena very powerfully, very sophisticatedly, so that we can create all these medicines, we can create this public health, we can create iPhones, what have you. It's amazing, but yet it's concealing something. And what it conceals basically is the causes of happiness and sorrow, and the causes of liberation and bondage. These are the things that Buddhism is really interested in. Buddhism is all about creating the causes of happiness, getting rid of the causes of suffering, and helping us find freedom, liberation. That's the whole point of Buddhism. We are in modernity stuck in this difficult place because all of the accomplishments of science and technology and modernity altogether, wonderful as they are, conceal what is most important, to the point where this seemingly very obvious thing called the mind or consciousness is often regarded as something either unimportant, not functional, or non-existent even. There are materialists, there are philosophers and scientists. In fact, the majority of scientists and philosophers are materialists. They believe that mind or consciousness comes out of the brain, it's a product of the brain, or that it's what's called an epiphenomena, something that doesn't really exist. Sometimes they even say it's an illusion, that mind is an illusion, which is interesting when you think about it for 2 seconds. If it's an illusion, who's experiencing an illusion? Who's being deluded? So this side of modernity, this materialist side of modernity, has produced this extraordinarily confused understanding of what the causes of happiness are and what the causes of sorrow are. So consumerism, the belief that possessing things might make you happy. Possessing any kind of thing, whether it's material, psychological, spiritual, whatever it is that you think you might possess, cannot be a source of enduring happiness, cannot liberate you from the feeling of poverty, anxiety, inadequacy. So we have lots of answers to this as Buddhists. We can talk about the Four Noble Truths. We can talk about all sorts of things. But we have a problem, I think, which is that we are so conditioned by the materialist assumptions, the basic materialist assumptions that are so prevalent in our world, that it's really hard to believe in the truth of the Mahayana. We often think about something in our brain. We think these things that are all around us that Buddhism says are empty, they can't be empty because they're made of particles. And they're forces that come as waves. There are all these quantum mechanics. There are molecules. All of these models of reality, conceptual models of reality, seem to us to be genuinely real. They must be real because the scientists can send rockets to the moon, they can make televisions, they can create the internet, so they must know what they're talking about. And yes, in the relative reality, they can create the causes and conditions that allow my image to appear on a computer in New York City. And that's amazing. That's fantastic. But believing that it's more than appearance is problematic. So we have this interesting challenge of trying to get beyond conventional reality in an environment, a culture where the conventional reality has become so powerful and so deeply accepted and ingrained and assumed that we think that's all there is. And the mind, which seems to be pretty important for all the teachings of Buddhism, seems to be relegated to a second-class citizenship. So the reason that I wrote this kind of kooky book is that I wanted to talk about Mahayana Buddhism in a way that was relevant in this culture, in this time, and that used some of the Western methodologies for counteracting or contradicting these materialist assumptions that we carry with us.